Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to another fun episode of this show that I haven't named yet, where we talk to students that I might have known from the past about what's been going on in their life since we may have parted ways at the high school graduation. I've talked to a number of people throughout the Kansas City area, primarily coming from Paseo Academy of the Fine and Performing Arts, mainly because I spent 16 years as a teacher there. And when you look at how long a time that is, you see a lot of different paths during that period. I've spoken to somebody as far back as 2003, I think. So I'm joined today by one of those Paseo graduates. She was a theater major, I believe. And
dance major.
Oh
dance
my
major.
God. But she participated across the
Yes.
board. How easily I could confuse the two. And really, you did involve yourself in lots of arts, right? I think that's kind of the goal of getting the full experience at Paseo. So I'm joined by Hope Penner. When did you graduate from Paseo, Hope?
That was 2018. Or no, sorry, 2008. 2008.
Hey, man, okay, then something happened crazy. A time warp. We lost 10 years in there. So 2008.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little catching up us to do. Will you tell us, kind of unwind your path after high school? Where'd you go? What'd you do? What'd you decide to do? How did you know?
So I after college or after high school, while my senior year, we were looking at colleges. We had looked at schools in California. We had looked at schools in Oklahoma, and we settled on a school in Chicago called Columbia College. And my parents and I felt it was going to be the best place because it was in a major city. Felt like there was going to be more connections there. It was also in our price range, which some of the other ones weren't, especially because it was a private liberal arts college. And so I moved to Chicago. I got my bachelor's degree in dance with a concentration in choreography and dance pedagogy, so dance teaching. And while I was there, it was my first year was really tough. It was really hard leaving Kansas City. I hadn't really traveled that much, and I certainly hadn't lived anywhere. I grew up in the same house for 18 years, and then I moved there. But it was really exciting to me. I started to miss home, and then I had talked to my parents about maybe trying a different college, and my dad was like, no, you're sticking this out. You're doing it. This is the right place to be. And so I ended up finishing my degree at Columbia, and it was great. Now I consider Chicago like my home, like my hometown. And I spent 10 years there. And during college, I was obviously performing a lot.
Chicago's a homey feel to you, because to
Yes.
me, when I go there, it is gigantic compared to the city, and I don't feel home at all. Like, wow. So, what part of Chicago do you call homey? Like and really downtown, I suppose.
So I actually, for the first 2 years, I lived in the dorms, which were right in the South Loop, which is basically downtown Chicago. It's right by Millennium Park and the Bean that's there. And that was a really fun experience for me, and I loved that. But anyone that's lived in Chicago knows that living there is super expensive. So we had to move up north. So I lived in probably like 10 different places while I was in Chicago. But up north is probably like closer to Wrigleyville. We've also lived like in Rogers Park. And there's more, it's more like three flats, like those sort of things. And I think the reason that I feel like it feels so much like home is because I had most of like my like revelation moments there. Like I feel like high school is a great time to like make friends, kind of figure out who you are. But it really doesn't happen until your late teens and 20s even. Yeah. I'm 31 and I'm still kind of figuring it out a little bit. So,
sure. But that's the whole deal, right? You might as well keep figuring it out as you get older instead of have already decided you did a long time ago. And I think, that's a testament to a lot of things, but that's true of most of the people I've been interviewing and talking to is they accelerated almost after getting not school out of the way, but kind of getting school out of the way and then doing their everyday life, primarily, whatever that is. I do school for a living, so I'm in a confused state like that sometimes too. So, but I always say it's fantastic to get paid to continue to learn and grow. So whatever job that is, if that's what is going on, then you scored. That if you're getting paid to learn and grow, I mean, a mechanic, an art form, a trade, anything like that, like in 10 years from now, you can even charge more for your same trade, right? So it is an investment in your time, and you do get expertise in lots of cool ways. So tell me, after Chicago or post that experience, are you still in Chicago?
I'm not in Chicago anymore. I moved in 2018.
That 10 years ago.
Yes. So I moved in 2018 to Los Angeles. And I felt like I needed to change. My boyfriend that I've been with for a million years is he's an actor as well. And we kind of needed to move. After college, I got a job as a teaching assistant at an international school in Chicago. And I worked with the 3-year-olds, which was so fun. And it was a great stepping stone. But of course, that whole year that I was a teaching assistant, I was like, I feel like I've wasted my degree. I feel like, what am I doing? I know I enjoy teaching, but I also hadn't gotten my teacher certification. So it was either go back to school so I can do teaching in a school full time, or I needed to figure something else out. So the Christmas of my first year there at that school, I was like, you know what, I'm going to manifest what I want. And I went on Amazon and I got a bunch of dance curriculum books, and I just was reading. I started for fun, I started making curriculum maps and all this stuff. And I was like, because that stuff is honestly, I love doing it. It sounds weird, but it's really fun to me, planning and all that stuff. So I was doing all that, and I was like, you know what, I don't even have a job opportunity out there, but I was like, I'm going to do this because this is the right thing for me. It's giving me inspiration, and it's, and I'm putting that energy out into the world. And so I did that. And then, when it was time to renew our teaching assistant contract, I was like, I absolutely want to come back next year. I would be interested in using my degree, whether it's an after-school club or whatever. And the principal emailed me back and said, I want you to write up a proposal for a dance program. And he's like, you need to come up with this, and this. And I had half of it built already because this is what I was doing. And so I proposed it to him. He observed me 3 times teaching with the kids that were there of various age ranges. And then I got the job. And so then from there, the following 6 years, I built up this dance program, and I taught the 2-year-olds all the way to 5th grade. And it was I look back at first year me, and I'm like, what on earth were you doing? It was so bad. And I look to my final year there and how much was built out. One of the great things about that position is that because dance was something that seemed beyond what the other teachers knew, they were like, oh, that's Hope's thing. She knows what she's doing. I basically got to do whatever I want. I got to create this I got to create my own curriculum. I started the school started doing an annual musical, and I directed and choreographed those. And our arts programs there, I worked really closely with the music department, and our program was built up so much that Juilliard was interested in working with the company. So Juilliard came in, they partnered with us. We got to go out there like twice a year to go do like workshops at the Juilliard campus. And they created an online curriculum as well that we used, that was an additional resource for us, which was so cool. And I just gained some really amazing mentors from that. Wow.
That's neat. That's not a name just, throw around really. Just everybody doesn't exactly work with Juilliard.
Yeah.
This is really neat. And I would say I remember that I'm listening to I got to do this, and I got to start with, and some people might not have seen it that way, but I also jumped into creative writing kind of with full permission to what is that, and I was in the same boat. I was researching it before I did it. I was super young, so I was really guessing a lot, but I got to know what it really was by the time I was 16 years into it.
Yeah.
And what's fun is I was right about a lot of the stuff when I was doing it early on. I just didn't know that, and so I couldn't, I couldn't just necessarily put in place and guarantee, like when I remember working with you and Miss Connor, she was so in her way that wow, there is a way, and that her way is a cool way. And then I think that's what's neat. As we keep doing this, we develop our way, and then it's attractive to people to learn that. And
yeah.
So that's really neat. I can hear your way emerged, and worked, and still is. What are you doing right now, like as a result of that?
I pivoted a little bit. So we came out here. If being totally transparent, the first 6 months out here was horrible. It was so. I moved from Chicago thinking I was incredibly employable and and everything, and that there were going to be these amazing jobs that were available. But the first 6 months was really tough. I ended up working like 4 jobs at once. One was for a mobile dance studio. So I had to drive around with like all this gear in the back of my car, and I had to go from like different schools to teach. And then I also worked for an after school program that basically just did clubs. I taught like an escape room class, a magic class. It was just random stuff. And I still have this job, actually. This is my second job that I have, but I choreographed for a theater company in a beach town out here called Hermosa Beach.
Nice
and
town.
that is really fun. And that's one of those that stuck with me. It kind of keeps my toe in the creative
Very cool.
realm. That being said, though, so my full-time job that I have now, which is Monday through Friday, is a startup, and it is an online dance education company. So it's called CLI Studios, and we basically work with, all those choreographers from So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars and like those sorts of people, and we film content with them, and it's this whole online platform. And one of the nice things about working at a startup is that you kind of like get to do a little bit of everything. So I do customer service. I've done some product development. One of the projects I've been working on for the past like year and a half has been creating a curriculum that can go along with our videos that K through 12 schools can use. So they're linked to the fine art standards and all that good stuff. So
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
I do a lot. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
that's really exciting. I'm sure it feels a little bit different to have taken the chance, rolled the dice, gone out there and done some work that, I've heard exists. I've never actually seen a startup. I've met these like workspaces and these work areas where there are no desks and we have ping pong and things. But that's my limited understanding of what it's really like. What is a startup really like? Like, am I close? Are you?
It is. Wait, it's sort of.
Who started the startup? You, or you work at a place other people started up? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are 20 of us on the team. It's still. It's been around for about 5 years. So it's still fairly new. It really didn't like take off. I shouldn't say that, but it's like really started to build momentum in the past 2 years. And one of the great things is that it's all online. So during the pandemic, I've still been able to work. It's been, which has been amazing.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, it's not like if you've watched The Social Network where they have all the cool ping pong stuff.
Right.
It's not necessarily that. It's you are within a limited budget, but we have things like kombucha on tap and cold brew on tap, stuff like that, like fun little things like that. And but it's one of the kind of fun things about it is that we're all around the same age. The age range is between like 23 and 40, and so we're all, fairly young and lots of new ideas. The CEO that started it, he was a dancer, and he was really good friends with Teddy Forens, who was on So You Think You Can Dance, and he's a pretty big name in like the commercial dance industry. And so they started it together, and it just started with the two of them like taking their camera and like filming in a studio and then creating this platform, and it just kind of grew from there. So
wow, that's amazing. That's the way of the last few years, and for sure, maybe before, but definitely it's growing and growing and growing. So thank you so much for that amazing narrative of what I don't know that everybody, you might not have guessed you would go all these paths when you were, a sophomore or a junior in high school. So if you're a sophomore or a junior in high school and you're hearing these paths, just please know, like, they're not all just going to fall into place, but they're all also not all gone. Like, they're not even really there yet. You'll find them when you're out there, and they'll be emerging for you at different moments in your life, and one thing might lead to another. You may take a chance and a risk and really feel rewarded for such a thing. So hope that's a fantastic way to show other people, I dare say, a hope for what they might go out and accomplish. But let's end on that then. What would you tell some of the young people who are listening that might give them hope? I have to use it at least once. Come on.
Yeah. I would say, if you really want to do something, then you should try as best you can to do it. And if you're in a situation where maybe you're not doing exactly what you want to do, create it then. Take the initiative. Even if you go to your boss and you give them an idea, maybe you're doing dance, and I could have gone to my boss and been like, I want to use my dance degree. And he could have been like, cool, you can help with cheerleading or something. And that might have been all it was, but you're putting yourself out there, you're putting that energy out into the world, and that's all you can do. Just keep going, and don't settle if you don't want to.
Fantastic. We'll end it there on wonderful advice from Hope Pinner. Again, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. I'm Chris Odam. We're signing out. Thanks again, Hope. You've been a wonderful guest.